I'm a teacher here at Glacier Peak High School, where I've been for 7 years now, and Nick is my former student and a good friend of my daughter's, who I've maintained contact with for the last couple of years since he's graduated.
Nick. I'm Megan, and I met Nick at Everett Community College last year. Actually, he played my husband in a play. We've been good friends ever since.
My name is Vicki Evelyn, and I am Nick's mom.
My name is Tyler Evelyn, and I am his brother.
All right. My name is Paul Kurd, and I'm a faculty counselor here at Everett Community College. I've been doing counseling for about 10 years now.
My name is Nichols Evelyn. I'm a student currently at Everett Community College.
My words, and I don't fully understand this, I'm not going to say that I do, but it's where a person, it's a broad spectrum of things it can be, but it tends to involve living sort of in your own world. I know Asperger's is a part of it. Interaction with other people can be very difficult, and again, there's a scale, as I understand that, as to how severe it might be, but that's oh, one more thing about autism, and I don't know if this is factual or not, but one more thing about autism that I notice is that people with autism tend to have a type of intelligence that's pretty extreme in some way or another. They seem to be very bright in one way or another. That's an observation that I've noticed.
Yep. Autism is a developmental disorder that affects different parts of the brain and body. It can be mental and physical. Usually I just see it as like a form of it kind of impairs social skills a little bit, but not always. It's the best I can come up with.
The reason it's a hard question, let me back up. The reason it's a hard question is because autism is not the same for everybody. Autism for some is really a tragedy, and they can't communicate, and it's very difficult. And I've seen people that are sad or trying to get out of this place that they're sort of stuck in, and autism sort of sticks them there. But autism can also be open up a new way of thinking or new ideas, and I see that in Nick. I've seen it have negative impact on him, and I've seen him fight against it and try to appear more normal. And I have also seen it enhance a lot of his abilities and make him truly kind of who he is.
Autism to me is a category that we put individuals into that helps us understand what they're experiencing. Oftentimes this relates directly to symptoms that they have, but that starts to label them. Our brains work that way. We have to label things in order to remember them and in order to categorize and recall things, but oftentimes there can be a downside to that as well when we start to put labels on individuals. But autism helps us understand the symptoms that they're experiencing and what they're going through.
The way that I see autism is, I always like to think of it like an umbrella, because it's a wide spectrum that covers many different things. I always like the saying, when you meet one person with autism, you know one person with autism. Autism is something that covers a huge, wide variety of different people and different kind of symptoms and different ways where people can react or act out or do things or think about things in certain ways. But at least that's what autism means to me.
But as a rule, no, I really don't teach. I don't teach differently. Maybe my personal contact with somebody with autism or Asperger's might be a little bit different, but really it's more the same than it is different. I would definitely say more the same.
I don't think it's ever gotten in the way of our friendship at all, actually. I mean, just like brown hair or brown eyes, it's just part of who Nick is, and it's just what makes him him. I don't think it's ever affected anything.
It's different, but at the same time, He's still a pretty normal brother. There are some differences that I've had to grow up with. Like, I remember when I first learned what the word autism meant. I was sitting in the back of the car, and she was taking me somewhere, and then I saw this book thing on the floor. It said Asperger's on it, and I was like, well, that's kind of a funny word. And so I asked her about it, and she explained to me, and I was like, oh wow, my brother's kind of different. And I never really looked at him differently because I've always seen him as my brother, but it's definitely different.
When I first noticed something was different was when he was probably about 4, kind of pre-kindergarten age, and he had already had some health issues, and he started really showing some strange eating behaviors. He would only eat certain things, and he would only eat things if they were cold. He went through different stages. He would fall more often, have more accidents, was a little clumsier. And I remember asking the doctor about that, and the doctor basically said, oh, he won't be an athlete, but he's fine. But we really noticed he was different when he went to pre-K, and that was the first time that he was really around lots of other kids that were his same age. And he had difficulty working in the groups. He had difficulty interacting with the peers. That's when we took him and had him tested. And that's when we started doing some physical therapy, some occupational therapy. But I think the hardest part of raising a kid with autism is knowing that they want to interact, knowing that they want to have normal experiences, but seeing them struggle, because it is just so challenging to be able to do that. Going to a pep rally being something painful. Worrying about going to a dance because maybe the music would be too loud or not be able to handle all the sensory stuff, but yet really wanting to reach out and be a part of a group and being a part of those kinds of things. But on the other hand, Nick thinks differently and asks different questions, and some of that is really a lot of fun, and it's stretched me a lot as a parent, because I never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. Never knew when he was going to ask me some things. And that part of it was kind of a joy, and I still, that interaction that we have where he asks lots of questions and really ponders things that maybe I've just accepted as normal, has been a lot of fun.
I have actually learned a lot from individuals with autism. I've enjoyed the work that I've done there very much. I think I have probably benefited as much as they benefited, if not more. Each of them is very individual, very different. I've seen a lot of things that they experience that has helped me to understand my world better. Oftentimes they have difficulties in one area and they are extremely gifted in others.
That's a hard question to think about, because having been basically born with it in a way, I don't really know how to explain it, because it's kind of asking, like, what's it like being you? I mean, I only know what I've been through in my life, and I only know what I can compare myself to. So I really don't have an answer.
Well, it can certainly be both. Usually when I hear somebody is different, what it means to me is to be perfectly honest, it's a politically correct way of saying that there's something where somebody has, and I hate the word disability, but something, a disorder, a disability, something that's different in a way that most people would choose not to be. But that being said, I want to be clear that I don't think people who are different in any way are certainly less. I don't think that. But it can sometimes be an obstacle for them to overcome.
Bad thing. I think it depends on who's calling you different. Some people use different as a compliment, some people use it as an insult. I think it just depends on the context. Yeah.
Like being different can be like being innovative or being new, and being different can also be related with segregation and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, I think that depends partly on the intent of the person calling someone else different. If we're calling them different to exclude them, make them feel bad, to put them into a category that makes them feel less than someone else, then obviously it's a bad thing. If we're identifying strengths and weaknesses in order to make the most of the abilities and the strengths, then perhaps that could be a good thing.
It can mean, it could be a good or bad thing to be called different, like I've heard a lot of people say. I will say this, like growing up, when you're a young kid and stuff, you don't tend to think of yourself as being different from anyone else. You tend to think that, you know, everyone else is like you or you're like everyone else until you are told that you are not the same as everyone else. And I remember kind of finding that out the first time, and it was just an odd experience for me. And at first it was kind of hard to be called different, but at the same time, as the years have kind of rolled on, I found it to be very cool in its own way. It kind of helps to be unique and, well, different, to be called different, which I think overall is not too bad.
Nick was in a show, a Christmas Spectacular show, and everybody was talking about him being great. It was in the intermission, and someone introduced me as Nick's mom to these two random people. I don't know who they were. And they were talking to me, being very nice at first, and then it was very clear that what they were saying to me, they thought they were being complimentary, but it really wasn't all that complimentary, because they were saying, that's amazing that he can stand up there and be that way. He's kind of like that woman that could sing. She looked a little bit awkward, but she got up there and she started singing beautifully, Susan Boyle. And, you know, I kind of nodded my head, and he said, so how long will he be able to stay in school in the transition program before they'll make him stop going to school? And I said, well, he's not in a transition program, he's in college. Really? Well, that's just very special. And I said, he's, you know, a great student. He's adjusted very well to college, and he was mainstreamed in school. He really wasn't a part of a special program that helped him transition. Well, that's amazing that they can do that. And it just sort of felt like it was belittling, that every compliment that he gave me about Nick was kind of like, well, it's amazing that he's able to stand up and walk and talk like the rest of us. And that made me mad, because I felt like he was seeing autism and not seeing my son.
There would be times where people would say, like, hi to Nick in the hallway. And since he was getting kind of more popular at school, I was worried that these people that would talk to him at school weren't necessarily his friends. And I consider him my best friend because he's someone I can always depend on. But that year specifically, I was really worried about like who were really his friends, because in case he became friends with some people that didn't have good intentions or weren't necessarily the best people to be around, I didn't want that to happen.
It makes me really angry to hear that. Because Nick is my really good friend. It makes me really angry.
I do, and I think back probably to when I first started working with individuals who had autism. My knowledge of it was very limited, and so I think when we have ignorance, and this probably applies to pretty much any topic, then we're going to miss some of the important things. We're going to miss the advantages and the benefits to a topic or to a situation that could be used to help, to benefit, or to grow.
If like anything, if there's a way to make a breakthrough with anything, you know, okay, but there is not a cure. I mean, as it is now, I think the best thing we can do is educate people on what this is and move forward. And people with autism live their lives in their way and become everything they can be, which is a lot. So.
Because I think that's, you know, it's like changing a fundamental part of who someone is. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing. And I don't think that makes people any different. It's not wrong. It's just part of who they are. That's it.
I think in regards to autism, using the word cured is probably not the appropriate word to use. Cured makes autism, I think, sound like a disease, and I know that's probably the perception of some, but I don't think that's not accurate. I think that when talking about autism, to talk about finding ways to prevent it is a good goal, to help people find ways to cope with or deal with the ways that autism impacts them. If it is impacting them negatively, then that's a good goal. To say cured, again, probably not too strong. I look at autism very much as being a set of disabilities and abilities, and that's going to be true of any of us. For myself, I have disabilities. Well, that simply means things that I can't do, that I'm not able to do. And I have abilities. That's true of all of us. We all have things we can do and things we can't do. And oftentimes for individuals with autism, the things that they can do are very impressive, and the things that they can't do cause them some stress, just like any of us. So that's no different. So when we talk about curing it, probably not the best choice of words, but to talk about helping people find ways to use their abilities to the best they can and overcome some of their disabilities, that's a good approach, I think.
Yeah, I would say absolutely not. I wouldn't cure him at all. I mean, I wouldn't even really say it's something to cure. With my brother anyway, there's some cases of autism that are incredibly severe that I would say I would potentially cure, but with my brother's case, I definitely would not, because like my mother said, without it, he wouldn't be himself. I wouldn't have the same brother if he wasn't autistic.